Thank you. It's great being here because Fox Talks does rock, and I love my Friday mornings, and you all know that. You've heard me say that before, and there's something else you're going to hear that I said before about my working career. I did start working at 10 years old. It was so cool. And just a second ago, Mitch looked over and he said, "You look like you're shaking." I was. I know it sounds funny, someone's giving a 200 speech, thanks for that compliment, but it's really not, okay? But it feels like it is sometimes. I did a speech last night at one of my clubs that I oversee. I'm an area governor. After I volunteered to do the speech today, before I was voluntold, Mr. President, so I had to rewrite another speech last night when I got home for today. So I'm going to use my notes, which I printed out this morning, to make this speech today. And it's really, really cool because I hope it encourages you to understand that, you know, writing a speech does not have to be all this stress. Writing a speech does not have to be something you have to put a lot of thought into if you're doing it for Toastmasters. Because this is where we learn. This is where we get our mentors from. This is where we become mentees. So here we go. The first 10 seconds is going to be very, very fast because I do want to put a shout out. Your dad, right here, thank you so much. We don't know who he is. We don't know what he does on Friday mornings. We have no clue who he is, but thank you for bringing him anyways, okay? One of our better members. Thank you for bringing your dad. Thank you. Big shout out there. Persuade and inspire. That's my speech this morning. It's the third speech in my manual. Last night I did the second one called Appraising with Praise. Now, appraising with praise to me and persuade to inspire are two different things. Because persuade, which I'm going to talk about today, the book wants me to use it as kind of like a positive thing to get people to do what they want to do. Now, growing up where I grew up, in the movies I've seen, the movies you've all seen, have you ever seen persuasion as a positive thing? I mean, did the producer of The Godfather actually put Frank Sinatra in the movies because he was persuaded with flowers? No, he woke up with a horse's head in his bed. You know, Guido carries a violin case with a machine gun to persuade the store owner to give him a dues every month. So to me, when I think of persuading, I don't think of a real positive thing. But when I think to inspire, which is to me is like an oxymoron, to persuade. I love to inspire things, inspire people, because I myself love being inspired. Especially waking up on Friday mornings knowing I'm going to be here. And when I miss a meeting here, it's not fun for me. I don't have a good day. So when I did begin my career at 10 years old, it began this way. My cousin Buddy handed me down his shoe shine box. He taught me how to shine shoes right there in the spot, and he said, "Go out and make some money." I was so excited. Why I was excited? Because I was going to have my own money. And I was inspired by what he told me that he did with his money. I mean, he bought records, he bought a reel-to-reel recorder. I used to look at it, I couldn't touch it. But he bought all these things, and I thought, this is it, I'm starting to grow up. But there's something else I learned too when I was going out there trying to shine these shoes and make money at 20 cents a shine. I found out that as long as I have, you know, a little money in my pocket, there's going to be people out there that want to take it. So they were inspired somehow to rob the shoe shine boys and the paper delivery boys. That's not a big deal. Where I grew up in neighborhoods where there's fist fights and people getting robbed, it doesn't happen just in my neighborhood, although they did make a movie out of my town, but you know, maybe that's a little bit more off the deep end. So, two things I learned at the age of 10. Self-preservation. Self-preservation is so important to us because when you're going for a job interview, I mean, it's like, I gotta get this because I need this job to pay the rent. You know, when you're working with chemicals, it's like, is it gonna blow up in my hand? What am I gonna do here, right? So what we need to do, we need to look at it as a whole. So what I do is I walk into a situation now because of my self-preservation that I learned two things. One, I learned how to fight back. It wasn't easy. I also learned that nobody wins in a fight. I don't care who says I give up first. Nobody wins. Second thing I learned, which I should have learned first, is I learned how to run really, really fast. I mean, it was so cool once I learned how to run fast. Then I got a job at 13 years old as a dishwasher, my first paycheck. The bosses told us to get the job done. There was no training. That's the way it was in those days. No human resource department. I mean, it's like, get it done. So you do it wrong, and they say, hey, look, you didn't do it right, get it done. Okay, so you get it done, because the boss is the boss. We didn't ask questions. We just tried to do the job. Then I was 18 years old, and I was working at a French restaurant, and I burnt the caramel sauce that was on the stove that I was trying to make, because the chef told me to make the sauce while I was cutting steaks. And this is kind of like a preparation to become a chef. And the sauce burnt. If you ever work with caramel sauce, how fast does it burn? If you don't have the hot water ice right there, I mean, it's gone. Less than a second. She knows, she's a chemist. I burnt the sauce, he smelled it, he grabbed me by the ear. Smell, smell, he says. Well, not only did I smell it, I knew it was burnt, but it burnt my nostrils, and then later on I noticed my ear was bleeding, my ear was ripped, he ripped my ear. So, you know, growing up in those days, the environment was not training. Nobody inspired us. They told us. But then came the corporations. I realized they're out there. I joined them. A human resource department. They taught me, because I was in there a lot, telling me I need to grow up, you need to speak to people better, you can't, you know, all these things. Because I took all that baggage with me because I didn't know any better. But now I'm in a learning ground at the Human Resource Department where I can learn how to inspire people, because those people in Human Resource inspired me just by the way they spoke to me. I felt like a human being. I mean, it was magical to me because I had never heard anybody speak to me that way on a job. It was always, get it done, it's my way or the highway. So what I did, and that was probably 27 at the time when I was learning all this. So I was a late bloomer in learning that there's other ways to work with people. So I try not to persuade people, because to me persuading somebody is like a con. Now you're trying to climb into doing something for you. It sounds selfish to me. But if you inspire somebody, and I'm going to run these words down. I took these words this morning. Synonyms for persuade. Advise, assure, cajole, coach, enlist, entice, exhort, get, impress, incline, induce, influence, prompt, satisfy, sway. Remember that last word, sway. For inspire, cause, excite, get, affect, reassure, impress, motivate, influence, exact, inspirit, elate, sway. I found sway twice. So the only thing I had in common is to sway. I don't want to sway anybody to do anything. What I want to do is I want to inspire them so they can look at themselves as a whole and move on with their job, with their schooling, and with themselves. Because after all, working with people, it is not just a job or a teacher or a mentor. It's taking the human factor that we all have inside of us, working together in a partnership to inspire one another. None of us expect